And Canadian immigration continues. People continue to apply for immigration. People continue to apply for study visas. People continue to apply for visit visas. Nothing stops. The demand continues. The supply is limited. It's giving some very frustrating, rather, it's bringing a lot of frustrating times for so many people. It gives you frayed nerves, but this is what it is all about. But then there are also those occasional times when you hit a jackpot. Some people get two invitations. They get one from Ontario, they get one from IRCC. You get invitations in the lowest draws. I mean, you never thought you would get one, but you get it. Then you are extremely excited. You're overjoyed. And this roller coaster is what is all that Canadian immigration is all about. This is what IRCC serves us on each day in different manner, as I would say. And this is what we do. We bring you the updates of whatever these joyrides have been, whether it was up, whether it was down, whether it was staying still, what we can expect, what we can't. And this is what makes up for this Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. If you do not know, then I am a CICC licensed immigration consultant, and this is what I do. I talk about Canadian immigration, anything to do with Canada, anything to do with Canadian immigration. So if you're aspiring and you have Canada in your mind, and you have Canada as your destination to work, live, study, visit, then this is definitely the channel you should be on, and of course, subscribing. Today, another episode of Weekly Roundup. We are coming to our 100th episode very quickly. And probably my 100th episode is going to be from a location which is going to be really, really pretty, really beautiful. I'm very excited. It's also going to be my vacation. So we'll talk to you when we get there. But before I start off, there's something else I want to talk to you about. 12th of August, if you are in Canada, if you are in Ontario, then I would like you to, this is an invitation. I would like you to join me for a live session. This is what we're going to do Saturday, 12th of August, which is next week, yes, between 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. This is at the Living Arts Center in Mississauga. Please do buy your tickets. The tickets are only $15, and all benefits of this tickets that you are buying are going to a charity live during the session. So don't worry, I don't want to make $15 from you, but I do want to give you a lot of information. I do want to give you a lot of updates, and I do want to answer your questions. So don't miss this one. And hopefully I will see you on the next Saturday, 2 p.m. in Mississauga. Okay. Now let's get on with today's episode. Starting with the quote of the week, the only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary. Vidal Sassoon. Well, what a profound quote is this one, right? I mean, would you really imagine, would you really think of getting successful, becoming successful, or tasting success without having worked for it? I guess the only time that happens is when you win a lottery ticket, right? A lotto jackpot. And if that happens, then of course, this is something which you would want to say, okay, I didn't work for it, but I got it. But how many of us actually hit a jackpot? How many of us hit a lottery? And then how quickly does that jackpot or that lottery is all, it gets swept away. It's gone, finished. Therefore, if you're not going to put in the work, if you're not going to put in the effort, you're not going to get successful. And this also applies to the factor of Canadian immigration. I know so many of you are quite upset with the draws. So many of you are quite frustrated with the wait. But then if you put in some time, put in some effort, probably take up French as a second language, probably get that extra education, probably improve your IELTS, probably get work experience in an in-demand skilled trade or a different trade that is now in demand, then you can change this whole scenario for yourself. And therefore, success could basically become something that you get to taste. Point to be noted, my lord. Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Stay up to date with us on the news and trends in Canadian immigration, starting with the PNP Draws today. Ontario. July 29th, OINP held the provincial draws under the 3 different nomination streams. They held a draw under the skilled trade stream, and they issued 2,855 notifications of interest, a whole load of notifications of interest. The only problem with this one was that it overlapped with the express entry draw also for the skilled trade. But in spite of that, this draw is quite important. And it is important for people because the score has gone down to 250. Come on, man, 250. That's incredible as a score. People who received the notifications of interest under this particular draw would be able to submit their application in 45 days for nomination to Ontario. Also, the number of trade categories that were included in the Ontario's draw were much more than what were included in the IRCC's draw. So obviously, if you were invited, you definitely should take advantage of it. The province also invited, Ontario also invited 755 candidates under the master's graduate stream with a score of only 48, and 84 candidates under the PhD graduate stream with a score of only 39. Again, jackpot. That's what we are talking about. But not jackpot without having worked hard. You worked hard to get your master's and PhD in Ontario. So congratulations to everybody who received it. British Columbia also conducted a draw. The usual suspect, they never hide away from their draws. It's always a regular draw. 1st of August, they conducted a draw under the Skilled Worker International Graduate Stream, invited 132 people under the tech workers, and the score was 88. 39 invitations to the early childhood educators, 23 invitations to the healthcare workers with a minimum score of only 60. And still we complain, right, that scores are high. Well, if you are going to put in the effort, if you're going to put in that hard work, you can get through with only 60 points as well. BCPNP also issued an entrepreneur stream draw, but only one invitation was issued under the base category as well as one under the regional pilot stream as well. On the 1st of August, Alberta also conducted their draw. Okay. Now, Alberta doesn't announce their draws immediately. It takes a few days for the draws to be published. But this was under the two different streams. Under the priority sector, they invited 32 candidates with a minimum score of 322. Here, the priority sector being the agriculture occupation stream. Now, obviously, we do not know within the agriculture occupation stream which were the NOC codes that were chosen, what were the other criteria. So, Alberta continues to be the Bermuda Triangle. We're always wondering what they're up to, and we never really find out. But at least now they're announcing what occupation it was. Additionally, 11 notifications were sent to candidates in the dedicated healthcare pathway. Again, we do not know what the dedicated healthcare pathway really is. A minimum score of 317. So congratulations again to people who got their Alberta notifications of interest. Prince Edward Islands on the 3rd of August held a draw under the Labour and Express Entry stream. 58 invitations were issued to candidates working in healthcare, manufacturing, food processing, construction, hotel accommodation, and agriculture sectors. Do you see some familiarities here? Agriculture is coming up again and again. Healthcare is coming up again and again. Skilled trades came up earlier a couple of times. So, these are obviously the priority industries at this point of time. No minimum SERA score was announced. And for people who are always wondering about PEI, then please do take note that they give very high priority, very high preference to people who are already inside their province. So people who are outside Prince Edward Islands or outside Canada don't really have much of an option with them. Express entry, and that's what we're going to talk a lot about today. All program draw, another week where multiple draws were held. So the first draw was on the 1st of August. IRCC invited 2,000 candidates under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. And this was, sorry, not under the Federal, my bad, sorry, before you shoot me. This was under all program draw. So basically, Federal Skilled Worker, Canadian Experience Class, Federal Skilled Trade categories, all of them were invited. Obviously, when they've had a bit of a gap, I think this was about 2 to 3 weeks, or probably around that much. Yes. And the minimum score obviously had to go up. The number this time was 517, ridiculously high, but high. And this was the first all program draw since the 11th of July. So from the 11th of July till 1st of August, almost 3 weeks. What are 3 weeks? Approximately, yes, 3 weeks. And therefore, the score was 517. Also, the draw happened on Tuesday. So apparently, Tuesdays are now the new Wednesdays that we keep an eye on. So probably Tuesdays is what we will be looking more keenly at now. In my opinion, and let's quickly take a look at the website. Now, obviously, this draw is of a later date because, as I said, there were multiple draws. We'll talk about this in a bit. But let me just talk to you about this pool breakdown. This was the pool breakdown as of the 1st of August. Now, as of 1st of August, if this is the pool breakdown, 601 to 1200, you had 1,308 candidates. So it seems, in my opinion, that IRCC is probably conducting these all program draws mainly with a priority to clear the nominations or PNPs first, and then they issue some additional invitations. They did that on the 4th of, I think, was it? Let me just take a look at the earlier draws. Let's see, previous draws. Okay. In the previous draws, if I scroll down, when was it? There was a no program specified draw with only 700 invitations, and that the score was 511. In that point of time, they had about 380 or 400 people with nominations. So that pretty much covered up all the nominations. Then on the 11th of July, which was a week later, they conducted another no program specified draw, which basically means all programs were included, and 800 people were invited. Score went down to 505 because this was a consecutive draw back to back, in the sense like they conducted on the 4th and a week later again on the 11th. They chose to invite only 800 people. But again, this was primarily to cover all the people who had received their nomination and then come to, and a few more. With that being said, if this is how IRC, now if you are following my channel, if you basically are usually with me on my weekly roundups, I've been saying this a lot. That I also said that I absolutely expect IRCC to continue with their all program draws. So the regular draws, as we also like to refer it, that should continue, that will continue. But at this point of time, you have to also take into the consideration that they cannot issue a lot of invitations under the all program draw, because they also have to issue invitations under the 6 category based draws as well. And it seems like they have taken a huge liking to the French category and French proficiency, because the number of invitations in French proficiency is just keeping, it's adding up, and it's been going up and up. Because what also happened is that they conducted another draw on the 2nd of August, and this was a category-based draw for French proficiency. They've already had 2 draws, I think, earlier, and they've issued more than 5,000 invitations in those 2 draws. And now again, this was another French proficiency draw, which was on the 2nd of August. And this time, the number of invitations were 800 only, but the score was still at 435. Quite manageable, quite possible for most people. Now, why is it in a bit of a contrast? Is because a lot of these people have also been invited by Ontario under the OINP French speakers draw. But Ontario chooses certain occupations and only invites them if they also have French as a second language or first language in that case. With IRCC then conducting a draw and bringing the scores right down to 375 earlier, now 435, it basically means all those people who have received Ontario's notification have no reason to go with Ontario, but to go with them. But in order to be eligible under the French proficiency category-based draw, you need to have at least CLB 7 in all factors in French. So that is the condition to be eligible here. But as you can see, 800 invitations were issued. Not a very big number, but 800. Still, the score is at 435. And then they had the 3rd draw, okay, back to back, 1st August, 2nd August, 3rd August. This time, as promised, because by this time, Mark Miller, our new immigration minister, had already made an announcement that they will conduct a trade occupation category-based draws, which is the first ever in the category-based round of draws this week. And they did that on the 3rd of August. I was anticipating between 1,000 to 1,500 invitations. They did conduct the draw with 1,500 invitations, but I was way off. I was absolutely wrong with the prediction on the CRS score. I thought 440, 450, because again, the prediction was based on absolute guess as to how many people possibly could be there in the pool, right? Especially with so many people in the pool, you do not know how many are there with different occupations. Now, under the trade categories, there were a total of 10 different occupations. Let's take a look at that first before I jump and talk more about the draw. Under the trade occupations, these were the 10 NOC codes, okay? Residential installers, elevator mechanics, machine fitters, heating, refrigeration mechanics, air conditioning mechanics, construction millwright, and industrial mechanics, mainly mechanics, right? Carpenters, plumbers, electricians, welders, related machine operators, contractors, supervisor, other construction trade, installer, repairers, and servicers. So all those are the 10 NOC codes that were invited. Now, obviously, there was no way of knowing as to how many people of these NOC codes would be there in Express Entry profile, in Express Entry pool, and hence the prediction of only, or rather the assumption that it could be between 440 and 450. But hey, the score went down to only 388, which is again pretty cool, right? Yeah, a lot of people are saying should have gone down lower, but then how can you default the fact that there are only 1,500 invitations issued? With this, it shows that scores can go down. And again, all the discussions we have been having earlier in the past, when people were talking about, oh, Bill C-19 is so scary, Bill C-19 is going to kill everybody's dreams, Bill C-19 this, but I've told you then, and I'm telling you this again, the regular express entry draws will continue, but the scores will remain high because they have to balance the number of invitations with the categories. Okay, categories for this year, for the remainder of this year, is going to remain the same. That is what Sean Fraser, the ex-immigration minister, had stated, because they want to keep some consistency within the program. They cannot keep changing the categories so quickly. I expect the new set of categories to only change next year by February, probably March, not before that. So if you are a person who is still interested in making sure that you get through to one of this, you still have time. Get your 6 months of work experience in, and you may just be eligible for one of these amazing, incredible draws. Trade category, only 388. I mean, come on, you can, I'm sure you can do. Most of you can get to that, right? Do that with the trade category. If you can do that with the healthcare category, if you can do that with the French proficiency, if you can do that with the agriculture or transport category. Now, all these, so we have already had a draw with STEM. We have not a good one, but we had a draw with STEM. We've had a draw for healthcare. We had a draw with French proficiency, multiple draws of French proficiency. Now we also had a trade category draw. Two are still remaining, two categories are remaining, and that is transport and agriculture. The expectation or the hope is that that draw should also happen sometime soon. Now the draw happened this week. They had issued roughly about, how many was this? 800, not too many invitations for this week, but give or take. Okay, I'm just trying to calculate the total number of invitations already issued this week. And this comes to, 2,000, 3,500, 4,300. 4,300 invitations issued this week, which basically there could possibly not be a draw next week. That, at least that's what the number suggests, that if they've conducted a 4,300 kind of a draw next week, probably not. The week after that. So if the week after that is when we are expecting a draw, week after that would be, if we say for Tuesdays are the new Wednesdays, then you're looking at the 15th of August. Hey, Independence Day. 15th of August is what you're looking at, probably the next draw. 15, 16, 17, those will be the days, expected days that we can expect for the next draw to happen. This time, I'm hoping transport category and the agriculture category. Now, transport and agriculture, let's take a look at what are these NOC codes looking like, okay? Because we need to understand these as well, right? There you go. These are the NOC codes for the transport category. Now, 10 occupations in transport category. Aircraft assembly inspectors, transport truck drivers, you have railway traffic controllers, engineering officers, deck officers, air traffic controllers, air pilots, aircraft mechanics, railway car women, men, and managers in transportation. So the truck drivers, I guess, I mean, in addition to all these other occupations, I guess one of the biggest interested group of people is the transport truck drivers. This is the first time this category is eligible in express entry. They became eligible in November 2022 once the tier codes changed and brought the transport truck drivers into the eligibility criteria of tier 3. Huge group of that occupation who was now going to be in express entry pool. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that this draw size is bigger, primarily because of the truck drivers. And Canada definitely needs plenty of truck drivers. So just hoping that the draw size is in the range of 2,000-ish, 2,500, hopefully, so that they can clear out more and more truck drivers. As I said, they desperately and badly need the truck drivers. Fingers crossed. Let's see how that one goes. And same thing with agriculture. Let's see what are the agriculture categories. Now, in the agriculture categories, we have only 3 NOC codes: contractor, supervisor in landscaping, agriculture service contractors, and butchers. Surprisingly, they got only butchers in there. But again, if you actually see, butcher is also part of the trade category, and therefore it has been included over here. Agriculture service contractors and supervisors, 8.2 and 8.2 knock codes. Again, this is also part of the trade category under the federal skill trade categories, but they've been included here under the agriculture. So you see, these categories have, again, a lot to do with the trade. And though they are under the agriculture, they are still part of the trade categories. I don't expect a very big draw size for this one because there are only 3 knock codes, probably about 500 to 1,000 invitations. Expectation, I do not know how many exactly will come through, and therefore you can expect this score to be quite low. That's what I would be assuming, because only with 3 knock codes in express entry pool, if they issue even 500 to 1,000 invitations, this scores are definitely going to be much lower. So fingers crossed for 2 weeks later to see what the scores are looking like there. In the meantime, there is one specific occupation category which has probably got the short end of the stick, raw bargain, absolutely, raw end of the bargain. STEM category. Now, honestly, I have no idea why this has happened the way it has happened, because the way Sean Fraser made that big announcement in the Collision conference, and he came out and said, hey, tech talent strategy, and we want to get in more tech talent people, and we are going to call 10,000 H1B workers, and they did. And H1B workers whose applications were submitted on the 6th of July, was that? Yes. The applications are already getting approved. We have already gotten, so many of our clients are already getting their work permits approved, which was pretty fast. It already started happening last week. So this was pretty quick. So you're inviting those 10,000 H1B workers. You said you're going to do the STEM draw, which you did, but only issued 500 invitations. So I'm not really sure why only 500. What was the reason of keeping it only 500? Under the STEM, though people tend to talk more, when you refer to STEM, you're talking more about IT occupations, but that's not true. In STEM, as far as IRCC is concerned, they've included engineers and architects as well, and those occupations as well. And those will probably be a very big part of the beneficiary group, considering Ontario does not include them, considering Alberta also does not include them, considering BC also does not include them. So if federal is including them, that is a big group of people who are going to get benefit out of it. But with only 500 invitations and 486 CRS score, that was not really of a big help. So whenever the next draw happens, again, I don't know, hopefully next week, probably, if because there are no draws expected next week. But so if they do a draw next week or the week after, when it is expected, they will do multiple draws, just the way they have been now doing it. Hopefully it's a trend now. The expectation would be that there would be plenty of these draws that would happen. At least I'm hoping that they should do a big STEM category draw, probably in the range of, I don't know, 3,000, 3,500, probably 4,000. I mean, they've done it for French. They could possibly also do it for STEM. But even if they do it for STEM, I'm not sure how low the scores are going to go with that. And that is primarily only because the number of people in the pool are quite high. There is a lot of ICT, intra-company transfer, STEM category people in Canada already. There are also obviously outside Canada. And these category-based draws are not restricted to only inside Canada, though I have a feeling at some point of time, they might start adding that as well, the component of inside Canada, because obviously Canadian experience class has also continued to be ignored as far as IRCC is concerned. So these STEM category doesn't make sense to me as to why they're not bringing them on. CEC, again, doesn't make sense to me why they are not doing anything at all for that, because huge group of people have now gathered within the pool who are just not getting through with this because they are now at the highest end of the points that they can do. I mean, not everybody can get points for age, right? If they have crossed 35, 37, 38, the points are obviously decreasing. They may have maxed out IELTS. They may have maxed out work experience points inside Canada. They may have, already gotten the education that they can in Canada, and yet the scores they can't get through. If you were to take up French as a second language even now, it will take time. You cannot get it done overnight. You're not going to score CLB 7 overnight. It will take you a year, year and a half, a year only if you can really put in that kind of time and effort. But in most cases, if you choose to do French, it will take you at least a year and a half to 2 if you really want to get to that level. If French has not been, if you do not have any French connection in the past, no pun intended. But having said that, STEM is something which I definitely anticipate. Now, with all these category-based draws, I also expect that IRCC is probably going to do at least one more draw each for each of those categories. At least that's the lowest expectation. Probably multiple. I would like to see at least 2 to 3 draws of each of these categories for the remainder of the year, because we still have 5 months to go, right? And if IRCC continues, but then with each set of draws that they will conduct, they're probably going to reduce the number of invitations, because we are coming to the fag end. We're already on the second part of the year. The number of invitations obviously are limited. They cannot continue doing these kind of draws all the time where they can issue large invitations. And but at the same time, I'm also expecting that they will bring back regular express entry draws and start conducting more of them frequently, where they can issue 3,000 to 4,000 invitations at least for those draws as well. But fingers crossed. No way to say, no way to speculate, no way to guess, no way to predict what the scores are going to be like, no way to predict how often they're going to conduct the draws, no way to predict when the next draw is going to be, because with all this inconsistent draws that they have been conducting in July, they did multiple draws, they did draws 1 week, then the draw next week again, then they did not conduct the draws, and then this category-based draws, they have thrown all kinds of guesstimates, predictions, speculations out of the window. Now you just do not know what. You could have a draw even today for all that matters, right? IRCC has conducted a draw on Saturday as well. So that can also happen. But at this point of time, obviously there will be a transport draw, there will be an agriculture draw. That is of course going to happen. They're not going to happen. But STEM and CEC, these are the 2 categories that I would like to see something more happening. And for all the other categories, as I said, I do expect them to have more draws, 2 to 3, I think, at least for the remainder of the year. Let's see. Fingers crossed as to how that goes. And of course, if you stick around with this channel, then you will see those draws and more information about them happening. In other news, what do we have? Canada's commitment to reuniting families and keeping them together. Canada recently announced its commitment to keep families together. Now, this is in reference to the spousal sponsorship applications and people who have applied for spousal sponsorship application. Now, when I say spousal sponsorship application, I'm talking about permanent resident applications. I am not talking about open work permits. Okay. So if you have applied for a spousal sponsorship PR application, then you technically are now eligible to apply for your spouse's who's outside Canada. You can apply for your spouse's temporary residence visa as in a visit visa. Under the family reunification and under the dual intent, if you make your application properly, express proper dual intent, still show that you have strong ties to the home country, IRCC has assured through their website, though I don't buy into that assurance, that they will process these visit visa applications in a span of 30 days. I'm thinking 30 to 60 days, again, depending on each country's processing time. And they're claiming that 90% of these applications are approved. I don't accept that. I think it's about 65 to 70%. Yes, the approval rates are higher, but it's not all that jazz. But you do have that opportunity. And after your TRV is approved, your spouse's TRV is approved, then your spouse can come to Canada. Once your spouse comes to Canada, because you've already applied for your PR application, once you get the file number, you can also apply for your spouse's open work permit, which can then help your spouse start working, because they're already waiting for your their PR application to be approved. Now, how is this different than what was happening earlier? Earlier, applying for an open work permit for your spouse was only possible if the spouse was already inside Canada and you had applied for inside Canada inland spousal sponsorship application. The difference now is that even if you are applying for an outland spousal sponsorship PR application, once your spouse comes to Canada on a visit visa, which you're going to apply as a visit visa, then once they've arrived in Canada, you can apply for your open work permit. So now, in the sense of the open work permit, there is no difference between an inside Canada application or an inland application or an outland application. They're both same in terms of the open work permit eligibility and provision. The only difference now between the inland candidate or the inside Canada or the inland spousal sponsorship PR application and the outland spousal sponsorship PR application is that If your outland spousal sponsorship PR application is refused, then you have the option to appeal in the Immigration Refugee Board. But if you're inland Canada, inside Canada spousal sponsorship, which is also referred to as the SCLC, spouse in Canada, spouse and common law partners in Canada class, if you file an application under that, and if that is refused, then you have no provision of an appeal at IRB. The only thing that you can do is file for a judicial review in the federal court. So that is now the biggest major difference between the two categories. So if you're looking to file for your PR application for your spouse and you're already a permanent resident, then you can choose outland or inland, whatever that might be convenient. If your spouse is already inside Canada, obviously choose inland. If your spouse is outside Canada, you obviously will have to choose under the family class, outland spousal sponsorship. But know that once you've submitted your PR application, you can then apply for temporary residence visa as a visit visa. Once that is approved, you can come to Canada and then apply for the open work permit. So that is the commitment that they have made, and hopefully they will stick by it. That's basically all that I have for you. Connect with us on social media platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads. What else? Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, of course, Facebook, and we are all there. Thank you so much for joining. If you're still here, hit that like button. Come on. And also, of course, subscribe to the channel, because that's the only place that you need to be. Now, I would like to rant with your permission, please. And I would like to rant, and probably rant in Hindi, if you don't mind. So my apologies in advance to people who do not speak Hindi or do not understand Hindi. But I probably will translate a bit as I go on. But when I rant, or when I want to sort of, let it out, I would rather do it in Hindi, because मुझे हिंदी में बात करने का जो मजा है ना, वो अलग ही है. और हिंदी में जब आप अपने दिल की बात, अपनी भड़ास निकालते हैं, तो बहुत अलग तरीके से निकलती है, बहुत अच्छे तरीके से निकलते हैं. ये बात करना चाहता हूं मैं उन लोगों के लिए जो कि ये सोच रहे हैं कि कनाडा पहुंच के कनाडा का पीआर मिल गया, झंडा गाड़ लिया, कनाडा के पीआर बन गए, कनाडा का पीआर वीजा मिल गया, कनाडा का कोई भी वीजा मिल गया, हमने झंडा गाड़ लिया, हमने कुछ किला फतेह कर लिया, हमने कुछ अचीव कर लिया. आपने कुछ नहीं किया. कोई पीआर वीजा मिलना, पीआर बन जाने से आप कोई तोप चीज नहीं बन गए. कनाडा आपने रिसर्च करी नहीं, आपने किसी और की बातें सुन के आपने कनाडा के पीछे पड़ गए, आपने बोला नहीं हमें कनाडा जाना है, और आपने कनाडा पहुंच भी गए. आपको लग रहा है आप तोप हो. आप तोप नहीं हो भाई. आपने कोई बड़ा काम नहीं किया. आपने यही नहीं चेक किया कि यहां पर आके आप करोगे क्या. आपको यही नहीं पता कि कनाडा जाके मेरे आगे की लाइफ में क्या होने वाला है. आप यहां पर आ जाते हो, 5 साल भी निकाल लेते हो, 3 साल भी निकाल लेते हो, सिटीजन भी बन जाते हो भाई. वाह वाह वाह, सिटीजन बन गए, ठीक है. बट रोना लगा रहता है कि भाई महंगाई बहुत है, एक्सपेंसेस बहुत हैं, जॉब्स नहीं मिलती, जगह बेकार है, टैक्सेस बहुत ज्यादा हैं, ठंड बहुत पड़ती है. आने से पहले नहीं सोचा था ये सब. आने से पहले किसी ने आपको ये नहीं बताया था. तो मैं आपसे ये कहना चाहता हूं कि जब आप ये सोचते हैं ना कि कनाडा जाना है, पहले तो किसी और की बात सुन के ये मत डिसाइड करें कि कनाडा जाना है. डू नॉट बाय इनटू समबडी एल्सेस नैरेटिव और समबडी एल्सेस ड्रीम. प्लीज डोंट डू दैट, because you're not buying your own dream, you're buying somebody else's dream when you do that. किसी और की पैंट का साइज पहन के क्या आप अपनी पैंट खरीदते हैं कभी भी? क्यों आपको अपनी ही पैंट का साइज ट्राई करना पड़ता है अपनी पैंट खरीदने के लिए? किसी और का साइज पूछ के कर लीजिए. नहीं होता ना, क्योंकि आपकी पैंट आपको फिट आने के लिए जरूरी है कि वो आपके साइज की हो. किसी और का साइज तो आपको आएगा नहीं ना. तो ये दिमाग लगाने वाली बात है. उसी तरह से पीआर पाना कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, ठीक है. हजारों की तादाद में, लाखों की तादाद में लोगों को पीआर मिलता ही है ना, ठीक है. आपको भी मिल ही जाएगा. उससे ज्यादा जरूरी है ये एस्टैब्लिश करना कि आपका एंड गोल क्या है. व्हाट डू यू वांट टू डू विद योर लाइफ? व्हाट इज द ऑब्जेक्टिव दैट यू हैव विद योर लाइफ? इफ यू हैवंट एस्टैब्लिश्ड दैट, अगर आपने यही तय नहीं किया कि मेरे को जिंदगी में करना क्या है, तो चांसेस आर कि कनाडा आने के बाद भी आप वही डिप्रेशन अपने साथ में लेकर आओगे, वही बहुत जल्दी परेशान हो जाओगे. ऐसा मत करिए. मैं आपसे ये नहीं कहना चाहता कि कनाडा मत आइए, जरूर आइए भाई. अहलन व सहलन, यू आर मोस्ट वेलकम. कहने का मतलब सिर्फ इतना है कि अपना ऑब्जेक्टिव क्लियर रखिए. अगर वही ऑब्जेक्टिव आप इंडिया में बैठे हैं, पाकिस्तान में बैठे हैं, वहीं रह के अगर कंप्लीट होता है तो वही कंप्लीट करिए. कनाडा आने की, कनाडा की होड़ में मत लगिए. दिस इज लाइक ए शाइनी ऑब्जेक्ट. किसी और के पास है तो मुझे भी चाहिए. आपकी साड़ी मेरी साड़ी से सफेद कैसे? उस चक्कर में मत पड़िए. इस चक्कर में पड़िए कि अगर आपका जो लाइफ का ऑब्जेक्टिव है, if you can achieve your objective by coming to Canada, or if Canada is a path to achieving your objective, then by all means do whatever it takes to make sure you come to Canada. But if Canada is just another shiny object, just another whim and fancy, just another, a bling that you want to sort of have in your pocket, then trust me, you're going to get very, very, very depressed when you come to Canada. For people who are already inside Canada, अगर आप already Canada में हैं, आप यहाँ पर आ गए as an international student, यहाँ पर आप आ गए as a worker, आपको नहीं पता था, आपको किसी के बहलावे फुसलावे में आ गए, आने के बाद आपने क्या किया? अब यहाँ पर पहुंचने के बाद ये बोलना कि IRCC हमारे को इसी के ड्रॉ नहीं दे रहा, IRCC ऐसा है, ये वैसा है, जो एम्प्लॉयर ऐसे हैं, एम्प्लॉयर चोर हैं, हमारे को LMIA बेच रहे हैं, गलत पेरोल चला रहे हैं, रियल्टर ऐसे हैं, मॉर्गेज एजेंट ऐसे, दुनिया भर को तो आपने ब्लेम कर लिया। कभी अपनी तरफ भी देख लो, अपने गिरबान में भी झांक लो, आपने क्या किया अब तक? आप यहाँ पर आ गए, राइट? आपने बिना रिसर्च के यहाँ पे पहुंच गए, अब रिसर्च भी कर लिया था फिर भी पहुंच गए। अब यहाँ पे आने के बाद आपने क्या किया? कुछ आपने रिसर्च करी ये चेक करने के लिए मेरा पाथवे क्या होगा, मेरे को किस तरह से ये आगे जाना पड़ेगा, क्या स्किल्स चाहिए, क्या क्वालिफिकेशंस चाहिए? बहुत ही एक कॉमन सी एक सिचुएशन आ गई है कि जॉब्स नहीं मिल रहे हैं, जॉब मार्केट इज बिकम वेरी वेरी डिफिकल्ट। बहुत रिसेंटली एक ब्रैम्पटन का वीडियो बहुत सर्कुलेट हो रहा है, ब्रैम्पटन के बहुत सारे वीडियो सर्कुलेट हो रहे हैं, पर ये तो बहुत कुछ खास ही हो रहा है कि जस्ट फॉर 5 जॉब वैकेंसीज देयर वाज अ ह्यूज क्यू ऑफ हंड्रेड्स ऑफ पीपल इन दैट क्यू। जॉब वैकेंसी किस चीज की थी? सिक्योरिटी गार्ड की। अब आपको ये सोचना चाहिए कि सिक्योरिटी गार्ड की जॉब के लिए ब्रैम्पटन के अंदर 100 लोग लाइन में क्यों लगे हुए हैं? ठीक है, फ्यू थिंग्स। वन, कि वो सिक्योरिटी की जॉब उनको कुशी जॉब लगती है, इजी जॉब लगती है, तो वो करने को तैयार हो गए। दूसरा, वो ब्रैम्पटन से बाहर ही नहीं जाना चाहते, उनके घर के नजदीक होगा। तीसरा, उनके पास एजुकेशन या क्वालिफिकेशन ही नहीं है कि वो कुछ और करना चाहें। चौथा, वो और कुछ करना चाहते ही नहीं है। अब ऐसे में जॉब मार्केट को ब्लेम मत करिए। अगर आप जॉब मार्केट को ब्लेम करेंगे तो आप खुद अपने आप को बेवकूफ बना रहे हैं, बाहर की पब्लिक को तो फर्क नहीं पड़ता, और ये रोना रोने से तो किसी को फर्क पड़ेगा ही नहीं। आज की दुनिया बहुत ही ज्यादा सेल्फिश है। मैं भी हूं, आप भी हो, आपके आसपास भी हैं, सब लोग सेल्फिश हैं। वो कहते हैं ना कि पहला मास्क अपने मुंह पे लगाएं और फिर दूसरों के लगाएं। इसीलिए कहते हैं कि आपको सेल्फिश होना चाहिए। और अगर आप यही नहीं समझ पा रहे कि अगर मैं कुछ सर्टिफिकेशन कर लूं, कुछ क्वालिफिकेशन कर लूं, आई कैन गेट अ बेटर जॉब। सॉरी, गलती से मुंह से गाली निकलने वाली थी, बट यू कैन गेट अ बेटर जॉब। क्यों ट्रेड में जॉब नहीं करना चाहते? क्यों आप सिर्फ वो एजेंट्स जो बैठे हुए हैं, जो बाजार में बैठे हुए हैं, एजेंट्स, किसका नाम लूं, जो पेरोल चला रहे हैं, फेक पेरोल चलवा के, आप फेक पे स्टब्स क्रिएट करवा के आप वो करने के लिए तैयार हो, उसको आप 5,000 10,000 देने के लिए तैयार हो, बट एक्चुअल सर्टिफिकेशन क्वालिफिकेशन लेके वो जेन्युइन वर्क एक्सपीरियंस लेने को आप तैयार नहीं हो। क्यों? क्या कहोगे? वर्क एक्सपीरियंस, मतलब काम नहीं मिल रहा, नौकरी नहीं मिल रही? भाई कौन बोल रहा है काम नहीं मिल रहा? मशीनिस्ट्स की जॉब है, ट्रेड्स की इतनी सारी जॉब्स हैं भाई। एम्प्लॉयर्स परेशान हैं कि कोई लोग टिकते ही नहीं है। क्यों? क्योंकि हार्ड वर्क है। हार्ड वर्क आपने नहीं करना, कुशी जॉब आपने करनी है ना? कुशी जॉब मतलब सिक्योरिटी गार्ड खाली खड़े हुए हैं किसी मॉल के अंदर, आपको वो जॉब चाहिए। ठीक है, कोई कौन कह रहा है कि जॉब्स अवेलेबल नहीं है? जॉब्स बहुत हैं, सिर्फ टोरंटो से बाहर निकलिए, ब्रैम्पटन जिसको आपने अपना पेका बना रखा है उसके वहां से बाहर निकलिए। क्यों वहां पे आप वहीं पे टिक के रहना चाहते हैं? बाहर निकलिए वहां से। कौन कहता है जॉब नहीं है? जाइए नॉर्थ ओंटारियो में जाइए, कौन कहता है जॉब्स नहीं है? Look into the trades, look into the categories where there is plenty of jobs. Not only are there plenty of jobs, my friend, they pay much better as well. You want to do a job of only $16 an hour versus so many jobs available in trades for 24, 25, 26, 27, even 30, $35 an hour. But obviously, you don't want to do that. Instead, just want to complain कि ऐसा नहीं हो रहा, जॉब्स नहीं मिलती, कनाडा बेकार है, रिसेशन बहुत ज्यादा है, एम्प्लॉयर चोर है, LMIA बेच रहे हैं। You are putting yourself in that position, my friend. Okay, I'm not saying this will apply to everybody. I'm sure some of you have tried, you've not found, could be for different reasons. But if you do your certification, you do your qualification right, you find the right job with the respect of you willing to put in the hard work. You can join in as an apprentice. If you have to work 2 months without pay, I'm not saying you should take that, but if you have to take that just so that you can learn that skill, so that after learning that skill, you will be able to get that job and then continue. In my opinion only, I would have been in your place, I would have done it. Why? Because I'm learning some very valuable skills by doing that. I mean, I can go on and on, right? But this has to stop at some point of time. If you can see around you, all PNP programs, all they're all offering skilled trades. Now, this skilled trades is something which your family, relatives, friends, if you are back in India, back in Pakistan, they would have looked down upon you. अरे लेबर की जॉब कर रहे हो, कारपेंटर की जॉब कर रहे हो, प्लम्बर की जॉब कर रहे हो, छी, उबर चलाते हो, बेकार है, रेस्टोरेंट में काम करते हो, छी. But same job over here, my friend, it can give you some really high paying opportunities. Truck driving in Canada, आप देख सकते हैं, lot of people who are into that trade, truck driving में, they're getting amazing salaries, or they can make amazing monies. That is one of the reasons why so many of them want to get into that trade. It's not uncommon for people who drive trucks to make anywhere in the range of $8,000 to $10,000 a month. But it's hard work. It's a lot of work. It's not easy. It's not easy driving that truck, 16-wheel truck in winters, and for long duration of times, and for long days. So make up your mind. Do you want to put in the hard work? Do you want to sort of really give it a go and then make this happen for you? Or you just want to complain? Because if you want to complain, trust me, after a point of time, कोई नहीं सुनेगा, कोई नहीं रोएगा, कोई नहीं आपकी बातों में इंटरेस्ट लेगा, आप सिर्फ रोते रह जाएंगे. Eventually आपको वन वे टिकट कटा के यहाँ से वापस जाना पड़ेगा. Think about it. I'm sorry I had to rant, but I had to sort of let this go. So I apologize for people who do not understand Hindi, but this had to come out. Thank you for being with me. Okay, let's get to the questions because there are plenty of them there. Yeah. Tajinder Singh, CRS 491 from November in general category and WK. I think you're talking about work permit left until November 2024. Any chance? The thing is, I don't know, and I'll be very honest with that. General category and a score of 491 is a great score, no doubt about it. If there is any opportunity you have to improve that score, then please do that. In my opinion, and I have no way to back this opinion because it's just a feeling, it's just like a gut intuition. IRCC will conduct general category draws. If they don't conduct it now, within the next 2-3 months, they will definitely conduct it later this year or early next year because they have to conduct general category draws as well. The only problem is that the number of people that are keep adding into the pool. Now, these are the people who have an LMIA job offer, or people who are in Canada, have completed their master's degree, have CLB 9, CLB 10, have also got Canadian experience. These people are all above 500. These people will continue to get added with every time the course completions are done. More and more people complete their courses and jump into the pool, right? And if they've also completed their 1 year of work experience in Canada, that's even more there. I have a strong feeling that we might see score in 490s. I do not know if 491, but 490s at least this year, or if not this, then early next year. Again, it's an absolute gut feeling. It's not by any numbers because there are none there to validate or verify that. But if I was in your place, I would either, and if you have an open work permit, I would either try and get 6 months of work experience in anything which is related to in-demand skills and sort of put myself in a position whereby at least I have an opportunity there, if not here. Other than that, I wish you all the very best. Okay. Application tracker shows all stages completed, background verification complete on July 19th. How long does it take usually to get a PPR after it? Well, there is no timelines after milestones. So just because you have a certain check which shows as completed, there is no timeline. There is no standard times that, okay, after 30 days, this will happen. After 50 days, this will happen. After 2 weeks, this will happen. There is nothing there. Even data and trends do not have such detailed information at this point of time. If it shows completed, then I guess once your application is ready to be released, or your portal request or your passport request, then because the passport requests from each visa office is released in batches based on that passport office's batch release, whenever that happens, hopefully you should get yours. Congratulations, by the way. Shamir Amjad says, on ITA day, my foreign work experience, 12 months, job B 11 months, primary knock. Can I only submit job B after it finishes 1 year? No reference letter for job A. Doc wise, I only had. Boy, I'm absolutely confused with what you're asking me. Okay. I have no clue what you're trying to say here. And I don't even know how to answer this question. But at the end of the day, if you are not eligible, then do not submit your application. You may have received an invitation with only 11 months of work experience. However, do not submit until you have completed your 12 months of work experience, because then you will be in trouble. You are saying that your job B, which is 11 months, it's also your primary knock code, right? Absolutely make sure that you have completed your 12 months and only then submit your application for this application. About your job A, I hope you're not claiming points, because if you do not have the documentation for it, then you can't claim points for it. You have to have the documentation for it. Okay, let's look at the questions here. Okay, does IRCC accept one single module IELTS for EE? I do not know what you mean by that. I know IELTS is going to offer one single module re-examination or retake if you want. I think that's only applicable in Australia at this point of time. It hasn't happened in other countries, but if you're in Australia and you can retake IELTS, then in one single module, then by all means do. As far as IRCC is concerned, you cannot have multiple IELTS report. It has to be one report, and that one report, all your scores have to be, and whatever the scores are, as per that, you get your points. My brother is studying in UK, working part-time. He earlier had study visa rejection. Chances of visit visa approval is low, right? I'm a recent PR in Canada. But it all depends what the ties to his home country are. And if he is not in a position to provide good ties to his home country, and he's had a previous study visa rejection, I would say you provide more documentation, ties, funds, and purpose of travel, and take a chance with that. If you're able to establish that and emphasize on the fact that he's currently studying in UK, he's a temporary resident in UK, and he's complying with the laws of land in UK, and that could pretty much work in your favor as well. How long is the average time taken to get approval for a company to get SIMP approval? So if you are referring to the job approval letter, it is ridiculously long. It takes about 5 to 6 months at this point of time. If the company job offer letter also mentions the applicant, then that process is better. It can happen in 3 to 4 months. But yeah, it's long. Just had my postgraduate work permit approved from inside Canada. Can I apply for TRV without waiting for a hard copy work permit with the approval letter work? Yes, you can apply. That is not a problem for you to apply for TRV. But I'll talk about this question for other people as well. For a lot of you out there, when you apply for your postgraduate work permit, when you apply for your open work permit, when you apply for your work permit extensions, and if your TRV has already expired, then you can travel outside Canada. You will not be able to travel back to Canada because you do not have a TRV. You cannot travel to Canada on the basis of a work permit or on the basis of an applied work permit. You have to have a TRV. And you can only apply for a new TRV inside Canada after you've received an approved work permit or study permit extension or work permit extension or a postgraduate work permit. So yes, you can apply for TRV from inside Canada, but you can do that only after the approval of work permit. Approximately how many more healthcare draws? I think I already discussed that already. Working with UK sponsorship, if I work from home in Canada, would it make me taxable resident of Canada? Any immigration related legal hassle for it? I'm sorry, I cannot answer the question on taxation. You need to speak to a tax consultant about this. My father has transferred 2 lakhs in April, 3.5, 3.8 in August. Do I have to make a gift deed for money transferred in the month of August and April? 1 gift deed or 2? If you're submitting a PR application and you're required to provide proof of funds, then you will need to provide documents for your letter from the bank and 6 months of bank statement. Now, in those 6 months of bank statement, if there are any funds that are coming into your account, which are large in size, and in your case, 2 lakhs and 3.8 lakhs that are coming in, then you have to provide the source of those funds. IRCC wants to establish that these funds have not been taken as a loan and this money belongs to you. Therefore, provide a gift deed if this has been transferred to you by your father. If there are 2 transactions, 3 transactions, 4 transactions over a different period of time, that does not matter. You can make one gift deed. In the gift deed, make sure you enter the transaction details, the dates that the money was transferred, and that all this money in total has been given to you as gift. And that is absolutely fine, because you are now providing proof of source of that money, and you are validating the fact that this money is a gift and you haven't taken this money as a loan. I will land in October. Is it mandatory to endorse the passport, the amount of CAD US to bring in Canada? No, it is not a requirement. It is not mandatory at all. How to get spouse Canadian experience points? It seems IRCC has a glitch. Please guide how to get those points. Well, if you want to get points for your spouse's Canadian work experience, you will simply, in your spouse's Canadian work history, enter the work experience in Canada. If you have chosen the correct NOC code, you have chosen the correct working hours and the work period of at least 1 year, then you would get the points. What is the procedure to bring gold to Canada as PR? Well, usually you will carry it, and if it is not in a very big quantity, then you will carry it in your hand luggage or in your if you're a woman, then in your purse or whatever that might be, or in your handbag or in your hand carry or whatever that might be. That is usually how you bring gold. If it is gold jewelry, if this is gold bullion you're referring to, then you better have documentation to prove that it belongs to you and where did you get that money from, etc., etc. I mean, gold bullion, gold biscuits kind of a thing, right? You'll have to have receipts that money is not from criminal proceedings kind of a thing. And if you're bringing gold jewelry, then if you're landing for the first time, you don't really need to have anything to, you can just declare I have gold jewelry. But if you're going to be bringing it later, then you make sure you have jewelry evaluation and you declare them as goods to follow, so that when you bring in later, there is no problem at the customs. Share some gold with you, with us as well. Why not? Some gold is always good. I have 2 visitor visa refusal. Does it impact my express entry profile? I have CRS of 487. Visitor visa refusals have no impact on a PR application unless those refusals were for the reasons of security or criminality, okay, or misrepresentation. If those are not the reasons for your previous visa refusals, or medical as well. Yeah, if those are not the reasons for your visa refusals, then it will have no impact on your PR application. Please understand, when you apply for a visit visa, you are applying to come to Canada temporarily. Coming to Canada temporarily means you have to show that you will return back to your home country. But when you apply for permanent residence, you are applying to live in Canada permanently. Therefore, there is no requirement for you to show that you will return back. And therefore, a visit visa does not have any impact on your PR application unless your visit visa was refused for security, criminality, misrepresentation, or medicals. Yeah, that's the only reasons. Okay, Abdul Alim, sorry, there's nothing there. No question there, Vikas. Arshdeep says, I'm eligible under federal skilled worker, but my 4-year work experience isn't in STEM. However, I'm on postgraduate work permit in Canada. How do I get eligible for STEM? In order to get eligible in STEM, you will need to have work experience in STEM. That is the only way you can get eligible in STEM. Look at the 33, I think 33, is it 33? Let's just see how many. Okay, look at all these NOC codes that you have. There are a total of, sorry, not 34, 24 NOC codes. Architects, business managers, business system specialists, civil engineers, computer system managers, computer engineers, There are 3 pages here. You can obviously go to the website and take a look at it. If you have work experience in any of those NOC codes for at least 6 months, then you would include that period of work in your work history and you would become eligible. So get your 6 months work experience in and you would then become eligible for STEM category draws as well. Vikas, sorry, no question there. Okay. How to not claim points for my work experience? I don't have reference letter from that company. Well, simply do not mention that period of work in your work history. Instead, mention it in your personal history. Remove it from work history, mention it in personal history. Okay. Any activity that you show in personal history does not need any documentation. Therefore, you would have still disclosed and declared your work experience, but you would have not claimed point for it. Therefore, it will be in the personal history, and you don't need to provide any documentation for it. Can you process the global talent stream? Yes, we process all Canadian immigration applications. Thankfully, we have a very reasonably decent team who has experience in most of the immigration streams. If yes, may I know the requirements? I'm currently working for an employer as an IT professional in Canada, and I'm on a work permit that expires in June 2024. First of all, your employer has to be eligible for the GTS. Your NOC code has to be eligible in the GTS. Your wages have to be eligible in GTS. You will apply for the LMIA. Once you get the LMIA approved, you will apply for the work permit. GTS processing is faster. That's how you would go about doing it. Abdul Alim says, I got ITA in trade draw and getting married in October. Congratulations. Excellent. I'm not sure what the question is. Oh, the question is here. Should I delay? Should I delay submission of application or submission of or your marriage? I'm not sure what you're asking me, but I guess you're probably asking me, should I delay getting married in October? Well, you've gotten an ITA in trade draw. My recommendation to you is submit your PR application at the earliest, probably this month, August, or probably next month in September. After you have submitted your PR application, and then please go ahead and get married. There is no problem. After you submit your PR application, if you get married, there is change in your family circumstances, family composition, raise the web form, inform IRCC. Once you have informed IRCC, they will send you an application kit, send you different forms. You complete the forms, pay the fees, get the medicals, get your spouse's police clearances done, submit that to IRCC. They will add your spouse in your application. Both of you will become permanent residents when your application is approved. Okay. Congratulations, by the way. Vikas says, as per IRCC website, students who apply for study permit extension can now work for more than 20 hours till December 31, 2023. Can you shed some light on it earlier, as it would restrict 20 hours limit after the extension? Well, as per the IRCC website, if you have applied for your study permit extension or study permit before October 7th, 2022, only then you are eligible to work more than 20 hours per week until 31st of December. If you submit your application for extension of study permit after the October 7th date, 2022, then you cannot work for more than 20 hours. You will be restricted to working for 20 hours. That is the condition. Please read the whole website in context. Otherwise, you might be working illegally, which you don't want to do. When transport category will come? I hope very, very soon. I do not know when. There is no prediction. There is no announcement. Usually nowadays, IRCC apparently announces before they make the announcement. So they announce before they conduct the draw for transport or new categories. So hopefully very soon. Is it mandatory to get reference letters only after ITA? No, absolutely not. You can get it before ITA also. You can get your reference letters at any point of time, as long as they validate the complete period of work experience. They say, so for example, you have completed your work experience in November 2021, but you have received your letters in January 2021. Then the remainder of the period from Jan 2021 to November 2021, that period cannot be validated through that letter. Either you will then need to have pay stubs and payment for all that period of time for the entire until 2021 November. Plus, you will have another letter that says you were still working in the same position for the same company until that period of time. Then you may get away with it. Otherwise, it is usually recommended to have a reference letter after the date of your completion of that work period. And that could be anytime, even before ITA or even before creating your express entry profile. I was eligible to apply for work permit extension. I applied in April, still haven't got any update on it. I want to travel to USA. I have a visa and Canada temporary TV until 2031. I'm on applied work permit. So what's the question? I'm not sure what's the question, but if you wish to travel, then yes, by all means travel. There is no problem. You can do that. Yeah, I'm not sure what then you are referring to here. Okay, sorry, I think I missed a lot of questions. So going back up there. I am with 505 and health category NOC. Will the draw go down to 505? In my opinion, I have a very strong feeling that it will come back to 505 for sure, probably with the regular express entry draws, or if you're in healthcare, then at least I anticipate at least 1 or 2 or 3 or more, whatever, at least more draws for healthcare as well. So yes, hopefully whenever that happens, then you should get invited. That's a good score, by the way. Okay, more questions here, but I'm just trying to see where did I leave them off earlier. I have not asked a question, but I'm always watching and giving it that like. Quick question: how long has it taken for BC PNP to issue their nominations? About roughly 3 months. Thank you for the like. I am Indian. My son holds a Philippine passport, lives and graduated 2022 in India. Would his passport for study stamping be sent to Philippines or in India itself? You can send your son's passport for stamping in India. Not a problem. While submitting category-based PR application, is it necessary to prove CEC 1-year experience along with primary occupation, targeted occupation? I don't understand your question, but yes, whatever you are claiming points for, you have to prove as part of your PR application. That is what you need to do. I'm not sure what you are saying there. Okay, more questions here. We get CRS points 1 month in advance of completing work experience. Is that the same for 6 months of category-based experience? Do we get points in or after 5 months? So first of all, you're not getting points for 5 months of work experience or 6 months because you get points for 1 year of completed work experience. The system gives you a glitch at 11 months instead of 12. It does not mean the same for the category-based draws. So you have to have 6 months at least in order to be eligible for the category-based draws. My primary NOC code is 70010, but I am considering if I can start to gain work experience under trade section, how long do I need? Also, will adding trade experience to my profile affect it? I'm sorry, but I cannot understand your question. You need at least 6 months of work experience in a category which is listed in demand. In addition to that, you also need to be eligible in express entry, whether it's through CEC or federal skilled worker. So first be eligible in CEC or federal skilled worker, and in addition to that, also have at least 6 months of work experience in the category that is listed in demand. Will an applicant's PR application sent in response to ITA through EE be rejected if she did not disclose that she has a CSQ? Why would you not disclose that? Please do disclose if it is a requirement in your application to disclose. And no, just because you have a CSQ, your application for express entry will not be refused. There may be a concern, there may be a question as to what your intention is and do you wish to live in Quebec or not, because express entry is meant for those people who are applying for PR to live outside Quebec. Okay, that is the condition, that is the requirement. But if you want to live in Quebec, then you should be applying for PR under one of the Quebec immigration programs. Therefore, your intention to reside outside Quebec would be questioned. Apart from that, your application will not be refused. Don't worry about it. My destination on my COPR is Ottawa. Can I land and live in Vancouver? If you are a federal skilled worker or a Canadian experience class who is applying for permanent residence without any provincial nomination, then you can live anywhere in Canada. There is no restriction. You can land anywhere. Even if you have a COPR which says Ottawa is your destination, you can land in Vancouver, live in BC, no problem. No matter what your destination on your passport, on your COPR says, you can land in Montreal. A lot of people think you cannot land in Quebec. You can absolutely land in Quebec. You can absolutely land in Montreal. The only condition is that you should have intention to live outside Quebec at the time you land, especially for express entry applicants. But you can land anywhere in Canada, regardless of where you are, what your COPR says and where you are headed. You can always explain to the officer where you are headed, and that's absolutely fine. No issues there as well. Okay, Still questions here. In regards of counting Canadian experience, I have 4 months of NOC 0 from last year and 8 months in NOC 0 with different job this year. Will it be counted? Will this be counted 1 year FSW prof? Again, I'm not able to understand what you're asking me. If both these periods of work experience, 4 months in NOC 0 and 8 months in NOC 0 different job, if both of this are in Canada, then this is Canadian experience class. And even if you have a gap, it does not matter. Even if you have 4 months in a different employer with different experience, different NOC code, and now 8 months with a different employer, different NOC code, it does not matter. If this is for Canadian experience class, you can combine both the periods of work and they will be counted. There is not a problem. Okay. In regards to counting, just did that. I'm a chemical engineer with 10 years experience, married, one infant, my CRS score, any chances? For chances, please check individual provincial website to see what their criteria and conditions are and what their past trends is. I have paid tuition fees and GC fees. Can I show that amount for PR application? No, sir, you cannot. You paid tuition fees. You already paid it. That money is not yours. So therefore, you cannot claim it. Will an applicant's PR application sent? Okay, we just did this again. I can see a lot of questions being repeated. So I'm just going to scroll through down and see the ones that were not. Okay, if I switch jobs after submitting my application, do I need to declare it to IRCC? I do not want to claim points for my new job. Okay. If you have not applied for your permanent residence because of a job offer, and if there was no job offer involved in your PR application, then you do not need to inform IRCC if you change jobs after submitting a PR application. If your application for permanent residence that you have made to IRCC was based on the basis that you had a job offer, you claimed 50 points for the job offer, then you have to inform IRCC if you're changing your jobs. But if you did not claim any 50 points for job offer, then you do not need to inform IRCC about change of jobs, because your PR application is being reviewed, is being assessed based on your past work experience, which has already happened. What you're doing now, what you will do in future, where you will be going, what changes you're making, that does not impact your application. What you do need to inform IRCC about is if there is any changes in your family composition, if that changes, or if there is any change in your residential address. Those changes you need to inform IRCC, which you will do by raising a web form. Okay, last few questions before I go. It's already pretty late. Okay, couple of questions before we go quickly. I missed with 0.5 bands in speaking, so now I am retaking single module in IELTS in India. Does IRCC accept one single module? I already explained to you, you will need to provide a complete TRF. All their results will have to be mentioned in that. If you have that, then you will be able to submit your application. I worked in Canada for 1 year as a software developer, but last 1 month of that period, I was in India, but got paid some pay. And I have pay slips. Will it be counted for 1 year or 11 months? It will be counted as 11 months. In order to claim points for Canadian work experience, you have to be in Canada. That's the requirement. Okay, same questions repeated. I have submitted my study permit 1 month ago. No decision is made. I have submitted my GIC tuition fees. Can I show that GIC amount as my in my bank account for OINP? No, you cannot, because again, you have provided that GIC for a different purpose, for a different application. It is locked at this point of time. By providing that, while you may be able to get away with Ontario, you might not get away with IRCC for that. So proceed with at your own discretion and your risk. Okay. Same questions. What would be the minimum score? I really don't know. It all depends on number of invitations that will be issued. What are the chances for truck drivers? Very, very high, because the next category draw could very well be transport category, in which truck drivers have been included. I'm on applied work permit, haven't got update yet. My original work permit expired in Jan. I want to travel to US. Will I be in trouble when I get back to Canada? No, not at all. Not at all. You will absolutely be able to return back to Canada because you have status in Canada. When transport category will come or 490 scores with no program? Well, I have discussed this in detail the whole of earlier session. By all means, do please watch this. I'm working for a company ABC outsourced to XYZ. Can I submit reference letter for only company XYZ reason because XYZ know more about my duty? Well, XYZ is not your employer. ABC is your employer because they are the ones who are paying your salary. So you need letters from both. You will need a letter from ABC where they can say that we have contracted you to XYZ, and then you can get a duties job description letter from XYZ. Yeah, that's pretty much all that I have for you today. I know there are more questions. Please, by all means, do post your questions in the comments below so I can come back and take a look at it and probably respond to them. By all means, this is the link. Please book an appointment and I'll be happy to sort of discuss your questions, your queries, your profile one-on-one, and then probably understand much better and give you a better solution. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I need to see those numbers going up. They're just not going right. But thank you so much for joining in. It was great catching up on this weekly roundup, and we will do this again, of course, next week, next Saturday, same time. See you then.